Guys, welcome to a special edition of our shiur, Wednesday night. And, pardon me. Our shiur is sponsored by our dear friend Ariel Pinchaso for the success and the blessings of his wife, his child, his parents. May Hashem bless them with bracha v'atzlacha, yeshod gedolot. And our shiur, it happened, b'shem Hashem. It happened with the power of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but this specifically, because it wasn't supposed to happen. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he texted me. Shalom, how are you? I'm like, this, that. He's like, do a shiur. I'm sponsoring. I'm like, it's funny you say it, because I was just thinking tonight is the Hilula of the Stipler, of Chaim Kanevsky's father, the great Stipler Gaon. And I was thinking, how am I going to find a sponsor, this, that, and then boom, you text me right here, and you're telling me I'm sponsoring. So, it was mamash, Yad Hashem. Everything is Yad Hashem if you just look. If you just look, everything is Yad Hashem. And, so here we are, Wednesday night. Baruch Hashem, learning Torah. Torah is the Talmud Torah keneged kulam. Talmud Torah is the common denominator. There's nothing that's more powerful than Talmud Torah in quantity and quality. I want to read you guys Lezecher Stipler. We're going to talk about the Stipler in a minute, but before I talk about the Stipler, I want to read you a Zohar Chadash. I brought the Zohar Chadash today. Yesterday I finished this book, this small book over here. And I said to myself, I made a mark by this part of the Zohar Chadash. And I said, I'm going to read it to you guys. When's my next chance? Then I put it away, and suddenly he texted me. I'm like, whatever, if I have the chance already right now, let me read it to you guys now, the Zohar Chadash. Enjoy from it just like I enjoyed from it. It's a powerful Zohar Chadash. Why do we call it Zohar Chadash, the new Zohar? Because it was found separately from the Zohar that we know. It's called Zohar Chadash, the new Zohar, but it's the same. And I want to let you guys know one thing, something very important. The Tanakh, the 24 books of the Torah, as we know, was sealed. How many books do we have? 24. If I want to come and I'm a Navi, let's say I get Nevu'ah. Alavai. I get Nevu'ah, and suddenly I'm like, God spoke to me, I want to write the 25th book. I cannot. Because the Anshe Knesset Agdolah, they sealed it. They sealed the Tanakh. 24 books, Ad Ko. Until here, Ad Po Velo Yoter. The last book is Divrei Yamim, the Chronicles. You cannot write more than that. Mishnah, who sealed it? Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. He came, he sealed it. You cannot add to it. There are 6 Darim, no more. You cannot add. That's it. 6. From Chesed until Yesod. Gemara, who sealed it? There's a seal too to the Talmud. Ravina and Rav Ashi, remember those names. They sealed the Talmud. You cannot add to the Talmud. No more. They finished, they wrote it. What's interesting, the Zohar HaKadosh, nobody ever sealed it. It keeps on going. Keeps on going. And that's why we see sometimes in the Zohar, we see rabbis in the time of the Talmud having conversations over here. Where did they come from? Rav Mordechai Eliyahu said, our Zohar, Rav Mordechai Eliyahu said, is 1/27th of what the actual Zohar is. 1/27th. That means there's supposed to be 27. All of our Zohar is really one section of the whole Zohar.
So it's lost, or where is it?
Whatever they found in the time of Rabbi Moshe Di Leon, of the Sfaradi, that's what we have today. But the Zohar HaKadosh was never sealed. It was never sealed. And it was given over to the Amoraim. And the Amoraim, not all Amoraim were Mekubalim. But you should know that. Not all of them. For example, we have a rabbi in the Gemara. He was Babylonian. The Gemara says, Gabriel, that every one of us were outside of Israel learning Torah. We're equal half in strength and knowledge to the rabbis in Eretz Israel, in knowledge and in strength. But then Rava says in the Gemara, if we move to Eretz Israel, we will equal this half will equal twice as much as the ones who live in Eretz Israel. That means we're real 4 times as much as them in potential. Because if we learn over here in the Klippa, how much more so if we would go over there? How much more so? So, there is a Rav inside the Gemara, and in the Mishnah, not in the Mishnah, the Gemara, his name was Rabbi Elazar ben Pedat. He was a very extremely poor Rav. He was an Amora. He was a student of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan sealed the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud. And Rabbi Yochanan was a big Mekubal. He knew Maaseh HaMerkava. He told Rabbi Elazar ben Pedat, come, let me teach you. Let me teach you. Because he was one of his prized students. Rabbi Elazar ben Pedat says, no, I'm not ready. It's not time. It's not this. He says, come, learn. We didn't force him. Azonete. You don't give him pain. Suddenly, towards the end of Rabbi Yochanan's life, he lived a very long life. Rabbi Elazar comes and says, Rabbi, teach me now. He said, Habibi, you missed the train. Yeah, Habibi. Yeah. You missed the train. I'm not teaching you anymore. So we see that the learning of the Maaseh HaMerkava continued into the times of the Amoraim. For example, I tell you a chidush that I learned in the Zohar Chadash yesterday. God says in the Torah, we shall make man. We shall make man. Who's we?
Angels.
So we know the famous Rashi. God asked the angels, let's, as a king, ask his advisors, let's come together to teach us a lesson. An older person should always, a leader should always ask his entourage what to do. It's a nice answer, right? Rashi's answer is a midrash, by the way, in a Gemara. The Zohar Chadash says Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai didn't like that answer. It's not a good answer. My heart, Rabbi Shimon says, is not calm with that answer. Rather, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the disciple, says something very beautiful. When we create our children, God says in Masechet Nida, there's 3 shutafin ba'adam, 3 partners in man. A woman gives the red. Anything in you red, blood, the dark in your eyes, everything red comes from the woman. Everything white, your bone, the white in your thing, the white in your eye, comes from the man. And God gives the soul. So the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai tells in the Zohar Chadash, God told the heaven and the earth. He says, earth, you give the body. Heaven, you give the ruach. And I will put inside the neshama. That's what it means, let's make man. And why did he give earth and heaven the ability to procreate with, to join God inside this endeavor of making man? So in the future, man and woman will also have this ability, because we are heaven, and woman, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, will have that ability. So God already put it in the spiritual DNA of the world, that we are like heaven and earth, and God puts the nishamai. That's what it means. You like that answer? That's the Zohar Chadash. You're not going to see it in the Zohar Kadosh, it's in the Zohar Chadash. So in the Zohar Chadash, we know Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Guys, make me happy today. Who's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's Rebbe? Rabbi Akiva. You're close. You're close. Who's Rabbi Akiva's Rebbe? Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol. Balshi, Rabbi. Balshoy or Balshi? Balshoy. Excuse me. When Gog Magog is going to come, I'm not going to be ready. If it's Russia, at least. So the Zohar Chadash says something crazy over here. This wasn't revealed until the Zohar Chadash was revealed. I'm going to read this to you guys right now. When I read this last night, I had goosebumps. If you don't have goosebumps right now, I'll tell you why it's normal. Why? Can I ask you guys one question? What is this generation called? Ikvita the Mashiach. What does ikvita mean? The heel. What part of your body has very little feel? You don't feel. You can take a needle and stick it in it. Your heel.
Your brain, technically.
But if you stick it in, you're gonna go stick it inside your brain, right? You're gonna, the heel, right? It's like dead skin over there. Yeah, right? It's cartilage. But your skin, you don't feel. Our generation is the heel of Adam HaRishon. We could see miracles from today till tomorrow, but there's no feel because we're the heel. But another thing is very important. The whole body stands on what?
The heel.
I thought it stand on the stone. stuff inside her ears.
That's true, but also on the heel. That means all the generations, Abraham, your head, your hands. So all the generations, they're begging the heels. Stand. Stand. Keep strong. Keep strong. That's why all the generations, they're rooting for us in Shammai. They want us to stand strong. We're the heel of Adam Rishon. The whole body stands on what? They have no heel. How are you going to stand? We're the foundation. We're the finishing step. So don't feel bad if you don't feel oomph in Avodat Hashem. Don't feel bad, because we're the heels. We're the heel. That's why I also say there's never been a generation where so much pritzut. All those heels, this, that. I once heard a story about a woman. She couldn't have kids. Couldn't have kids. So she went to the Rav, and the Rav told her, he said, what's the problem? Your cycle is okay, ovulation is okay, everything is good. Everything is good. This doesn't happen. Doctors, everything is okay. What's the problem? I don't know. Nature isn't working. You see, you mean God isn't involved. Because you could give the body, but God has to give the soul. So he said, listen, we're Ikwatet the Mashiach, the heel of Mashiach. You wear high heels? Yes. When? When I go out. Just take all your high heels, but don't just throw it out. There's a mitzvah when you have a donkey, a first donkey. Petach Hamor. You guys heard of that mitzvah, right? There's a mitzvah called Petach Hamor. There's two ways to do the mitzvah. Either one, you sell it to the Kohen with a sheep, you trade it with the sheep, or you gotta take an axe and crack the neck. It says, take an axe or a hammer, take all the heels. This is a true story. Take all the heels and say, L'shem Yehud Kuchav Re'u Shchinte Hareini Mekayem Mitzvat Arifat Petach. Arifat Oref means what? The bone, the backbone. That's a very strong bone over there. It says Mekayem Mitzvat Arifat Petach Chamor. This Klipat Chamor. Why? Why is Klipat Chamor? Because Ni'uf, this Avera of Ni'uf, adultery, promiscuity, was given to who? Which? Esav or Yishmael? Yishmael. Esav was given death. He likes to kill. He likes to spill blood. But Yishmael was given you 5 wives, 6 wives, 7 wives, all the balaganistim, all the thing over there. That's called a hamor. He says, Hareini mevatel klipat Yishmael. Klipat Petach Hamor. And take the axe, crack all those heels. Then take everything down the chute. 9 months later, she had a baby.
That's disgusting.
Did you believe such a thing? True story. That's what the mitzvah. First of all, it's stam shtuyot. It hurts. What's the point? Yetzer hara. Yetzer hara. That's why a guy has to pray that he should marry a woman that's almost his height. That way, if she wears the heel, it's embarrassing over there. What are you doing over here? Okay, no, weiter. So I want to read you guys the Zohar Hadash. The Zohar Hadash says a story how Rabbi Akiva and his Rebbe, Rabbi Eliezer Agadol, were walking together, learning Torah. Adavu Azle, I'm reading you the Zohar Chadash. As they were walking, Kam Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer got up, stopped. Vigahin, and he fell on his face. Vigahin Rosheh. He put his head down on the floor. He fell on his face. V'shaveh yidoy al pumei. He put his hands on his mouth. Ubachei, and he started to cry. Rabbi Eliezer Agadol started to cry. Amarle, Rabbi Eliezer told his student, Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva! Amarle Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva told his Rebbe, Rebbe! Lama adbachei, why are you crying? Imagine you're in the middle of speaking to somebody, he suddenly drops and starts to cry. Rebbe! Rebbe, why are you crying? Just stop. What happened? Amarle told him, Alda sha'elta, you're asking why I'm crying. Hezu chazer, just had a vision. Oh, you're learning Torah. The kashya milan, I saw something unbelievable. Look what the Zohar Kadosh says. Look what I tell the Tanaim. Look at this thing. Look what he's about to say. He says, Akiva, Akiva. And it's very important. Why is this happening to Rabbi Akiva? Because what generation are we? Ikveta. What is Akiva? They heal. They heal. Akiva, Akiva, he says. Man yiske lehai orka de galuta dit mashach. Who will last in this galut? Remember, he's talking almost 2,000 years ago. Rabbi Eliezer. And he sees that very little will survive till the end. Why? He didn't have prophets. Look what he sees. Dahalo yakum barnash. Da'atid limtel anane shemaya ad yoma shetita'a. A man, the man that will come on the clouds, anane shemaya, Mashiach Tzidkenu, as Daniel saw, that will not happen until the 6th day. What does that mean, the 6th day? Until the 6th millennium. And he's talking almost 2,000 years ago. Dehu b'shit elef shenin. Now he doesn't leave a lot to the imagination. Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol tells Rabbi Akiva this is going to be in the century of 6,000. V'la b'ashlemuteh, but the 6,000, the year 6,000 will not end. We won't get to the year 6,000. It will be a little bit earlier. Sound familiar? This is a Zohar Hadash. Vela ela bitkuf teshuvah, but the Jewish people must do teshuvah if they want to last. It's gonna happen, but if you want to see the day, you gotta do teshuvah. That man, who's that man? Mashiach, which is Adam HaRishon, will not have control until the 6th day. Why only on the 6th day? Because when was he born? On the 6th day. When did he get up on his feet, by the way, Adam? Adam, when did he get up on his feet? In the 6th hour. Midday. What happened during midday? 1948. 1948 was midday. The Gaon Mevilna wrote in his Pirush on Tikkunei Zohar that the auspicious time for coming of Mashiach will be on the 6th day in the 6th hour, which is the year 1948. And then we will have 70 years of Erev Rav. When the 70 years end from 1948? 2018. That's in the middle of Trump's 2018. I believe that's when he moved the embassy to Jerusalem. And right now, we're getting to that 72nd year, 2020. And what's been happening since then? All the craziness has been coming out of the world. Like we said on Monday night, when you stick the plomba and all the garbage comes out, the Erev Rav has to be finished. We're in the galut of the Erev Rav and not in Edom. We want to move up the Erev Rav?
Maybe Trump can move Sanhedrin and say,
But the thing is, we need it to happen from us, not from him. We already had that happen from a goy, who? Koresh, the king of Persia. That end well. 420 years later, what happened to the Beit HaMikdash? We need it to happen from us. We need to pray for it. We need to make it happen. Ubishviyah, what's going to happen in the year 7,000? In the 7th millennium, which is the year 6,000 and on? Yishta'ar Shemitah ba'alma. It will be a year of Shemitah of the world. What does that mean, Shemitah? What happens in Shemitah in Eretz Israel? If you live in Israel and there's Shemitah, the 7th year, what happens in the 7th year? You allowed to work on the 7th year? Doctors are allowed to work. Nurses are allowed to work. Rabbis are allowed to work. How about farmers? That's the new translation of essential workers. How about the farmers? Food. We need food. Are they allowed to work? Absolutely. You are allowed to go to your friend's farm and you're allowed to take any fruit, vegetable, this, that. Shemitah. Shemitah. That's what's going to be for 100 years. Not 100, slicha. 1,000 years is going to be. 1,000 years of Shemitah. For what reason?
cleansing.
For the cleansing is going to be for the sake, it's Shabbat. So whoever doesn't keep Shabbat right now, he's going to have a tough time getting to that Shabbat. He won't want to get to that Shabbat. He's going to be bored. Because what does it say? What does the prophet Isaiah say? Now, I'm not going to finish the Zohar Chadash because it's already late. What time is it? 10 o'clock. I want to tell you guys something from the Rabbi Chaim ben Attar. Why did I read you the Zohar Chadash? This beautiful Zohar Chadash. First of all, look at the vision that Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol had. And he saw that the man, who's the man? Adam, Harishon, will not get up until when? Will not have a rule until when? The 6th day. And towards the end of the 6th day. And I told this to my good friend over here, Gavriel. I said, we have 220 years left to the year 6000. 220 years left. That's almost about the time when we were in Egypt. How long we were in Egypt for? 210 years. It's really close. It's really close. And I said to him, how many generations were in Egypt? Levi was the last one to pass away.
4.
Levi, Kehat, Amram, Moshe. 4 generations. That means our great-great-grandkids will for sure. Now, not our great, has to be our great-grandkids. Why? Because it's going to be at the end. What did he say? But not at the end. Why does it have to be? Now I'm going to tell you guys a secret of secrets. There has to be a shiur with secret of secrets. Gabriel, you want a Red Bull?
Your grandkids will see it.
Why? What's the secret? What guarantee we have? It's not going to happen at the end, but before the end. What guarantee we have? We last week's parasha, 2 weeks ago parasha et Hanan. What does it say in that parasha?
Which part?
The 3rd aliyah. It says over there, it was a big one. Hashem says, I promise I'm going to bring them back home one day. So Hashem already promised that He's going to bring us back. He didn't say when. That means when Hashem makes a promise, it has to happen. Because Hashem doesn't lie. If He lies, chas v'shalom,
Everything was a lie.
But we do Atarat Nadarim.
What happened to that?
that Hatarat Nedarim is for something else. That was a swear that He made. That He made it for the sake of it. But that swear is not written in the Torah. That Torah that we have, that's stamped, it's written in blood. The finished, finitos. It's sealed. The Zohar is not sealed. Like I was explaining at the beginning of the shiur. That is sealed. Then Hashem made another promise. He already made that promise. In the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash, the prophet Jeremiah was a Gilgul of Shlomo HaMelech. When he saw the Beit HaMikdash being destroyed, it was such a... By the way, do you know scientists found the magnetic field? What was the magnetic field? Searches in Jerusalem on the 9th of Av, and that year of the Babylonian destruction. They found a magnetic field on that day. No, from under the earth. They were able to measure the disparity of the magnetic field. It was ginormous. Search it up. It says when the destruction happened, Jeremiah went to the Avot, to Hebron. He said maybe there's some last-ditch effort to save this whole situation. The Avot says, listen, this is the Midrash. Midrash Echa. There's nothing we could do. We did what we can. You guys didn't keep Shabbat. The Rashi brings down in Parashat Bechukotai, in Parashat, where else? Another Parasha. He brings down over there, the Jews went to Galut for 2 main reasons, Shabbat and Shemitah. Because if you look how many years we were in the first Galut, which is the first Beit HaMikdash, is the real destruction. Why? Second Beit HaMikdash was not a real redemption. It's not 100%, 50-50. Why? How many of us came back? That's 10% of what was. But how about the 10 tribes? They didn't even want to come back, and Jeremiah went to get them back, Gabriel. He went to get them back. He knew where they were.
Why he cursed them if he didn't?
That's Ezra. Ezra cursed them. Yirmiyahu didn't curse them. Ezra cursed them. You understand? Yirmiyahu didn't. Yirmiyahu went to get the 10 tribes back, and they didn't come back. So that means that the second temple was not a full redemption. That means we're still in the galut, really, of what? The first Beit HaMikdash. That's what we really are. The second Beit HaMikdash, Baruch, was what? It was recess. It was a nice break. A nice break in the middle. What happens in the first minute? The Avot say, we can't help you. Go to who? That's at the end. He says, go to Moshe. You know, they say Moshe's grave was never revealed. Why? If we would go and pray over there,
So
So they said, where's Moshe?
Yeah. He went to Moshe.
So only he.
What did Moshe say?
Take it easy.
Take it easy, Habibi. Where am I going to? Joshua. Who did I give it to over to? I give it to Yeshua. Let him take care of it. It's not my words, the Midrash Echa. He went to Yehoshua. Yehoshua says, Habibi, I can't help you. I gave him to David. I gave him over to David. He goes to David. He says, I'm sorry. I gave him to Chizkiyahu. The king, Chizkiyahu. He comes to Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu says, I gave them to Yoshiyahu. He goes to Yoshiyahu. He says, I gave him to Tzidkiyahu. Tzidkiyahu says, listen, I'm blind. And a blind person is kemet. The Nebuchadnezzar blinded him. He says, I'm considered like a dead guy. Don't ask me where they are. I don't see. At that moment, the Midrash Echa says, a voice was heard, Birama. Birama means in the edge of the world, the pinnacle of the world. Kol Birama, we say in Tikkun Chatzot, Kol Birama nishma nehi, b'chi tamrurim. Rachel mevakal banea. Who gets up? Rachel starts to cry. And she goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm telling you for true, I'm translating you the Midrash word for word. You review Daftaya, we're going to talk about him on Sunday night. He made a song on this whole Midrash. He made a whole song about it. And that was in 1942 when General Rommel was about to come inside, Yamach Shemo, to Israel. Remember, World War II was 1939. The H word, he sent General Rommel, the Desert Fox, into Alexandria. From Alexandria, he was supposed to march in. The Palestinians were already preparing concentration camps with gas chambers. I don't want to say his name, but Arafat, Yamach Shemo, his predecessor, I forgot his name, he was some big mullah. He was making concentration camps and he was readying Israel for mass murder of Jews. Rabbi Yehuda Ptaya went to Kever Rachel. He sang this song based on this Midrash. He filled the cup with tears. He drank it, L'chaim, and he saw Rachel Imenu leaving the Kever with 2 buckets full of tears. What happened in Alexandria till today, nobody could understand how it happened. The general of the English army was able to repel one of the greatest armies of the world. Till today, I have no idea how he did it.
The English put him on?
The English. I forget what his name was. He was able to repel him, and he backed out of Alexandria, and he didn't go into Eretz Yisrael. And one Ashkenazi rabbi said, he was passing by when this was happening, when they were davening, he said, if in Germany they would have davened like this, that wouldn't have happened over there. That's what he said. This is written on the book of Rabbi Yehuda Ptaya. And it's written over there that Rachel Imenu goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Listen to this, Rabbi Yisai. This is a lesson. If you want to change your mazal, this is it. Rachel goes to Hashem. And she says to him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why did you destroy the Beit HaMikdash? Why did you take my children to Galut? When my sister was getting married, she took my place. Not only didn't I tell my husband that she was taking my place, I gave her the signs. How? And I'm flesh and blood. Not only did I give her the signs, I came to her willingly to give the signs. So how could you, Melech Malchei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what are you jealous of? If this wouldn't be written in the Midrash, I wouldn't be able to say this. I says, how can you be jealous? Of what? What did they worship already? Stone and wood? You're Melech Malchei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If I wasn't jealous of my sister and I gave her the simanim, why are you jealous? At that moment, Hashem swore to Rachel. This is a second swear already. Because of you, I'm bringing them back from the Galut. But wait a second, you already swore in the Torah you're going to bring them back. He's going to bring them back earlier. Because of Rachel. That's why, what's the Tikkun Chatzot we have to do, Rabbi? Tikkun Rachel for 30 days. Right? We did what? Tikkun Rachel. Ben Amazing, I hope you guys did it. At least once or twice. No, once a week. For 3. It wasn't 30 days. It was 21 days. 3 weeks. I want to tell you something. Anybody who does Tikkun Chatzot, after Tikkun Chatzot, I know it's late right now, 1:01. He davens to Hashem. Anything that he prays at that moment, it has such an aliyah in Shamayim. You know, when the king, lahavdil, a president, gets all the letters, he gets a lot of letters. But the secretary only brings him the letters where she thinks those letters are important. Yes or no?
Yeah.
That's going to be your tefillah.
The importance.
The important stuff. The VIP going inside first. That's what happens when a person davens at that moment. It's not a simple thing. Remember, people think, Abraham, that I'm going to live my life, and whatever is going to come into my life without hishtadlut, without anything, whatever is supposed to happen, so why did God give you the motor skills? Why did I give you a brain? Why did I give you the power to move? For what He did all that? So you could sit on your tuchas all day?
Free will.
What did He give you free will? Now I'm going to tell you guys a sigula of sigulot. Kiddushat of kiddushot. This was all an introduction of who was the stipler.
Now that you were
I'm not gonna give you guys your that one. Today's the stipler's yortzah. You know his son, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, he's the Gedol Hador. Boris. He's the Gedol Hador. And he's one of the last ones left. Who do we know already? Who? Tell me who? Who's left? I had the merit of seeing him. I saw him with right sitting right next to you. Remember that day? How are we shaking?
everybody black costume everything.
When they were going inside, when Chaim Kanievsky went inside that day, when I met him, it was such.
First, my question: why are you shaking the leg?
We were shaking. Imagine whose father was the stipler. First of all, why is he called the stipler? Where did that name come from? What does it mean? Stipler is actually short for the city where he was from. I always thought it was a nickname of sort, but it's actually the name of the city he was from. Hornistrofel, something like that, in Ukraine, somewhere in Ukraine. His mother was from that city. He was called, I've said, the stipler. His name was Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael. Yaakov Yisrael. When he was 11 years old, his father died. Yeah, Stipler's father died. His mother wanted him to go to work. One guy was visiting the city at that time. His father was Hasidish, by the way. Not Litvish, Hasidish. One guy was visiting the city and he sees the boy. He sees his sharp mind. He says, Chaval, exactly. The boy belongs to the yeshiva. Back then, one of the big yeshivas back then was Novordok Yeshiva. But their yeshiva was not more of the lumdish, was more working on the musar. Remember we learned in Shari Kedusha, without the basics, the derech eretz, your Torah is not gonna last. So his mother said, his mother was a big tzaddiket. He was the oldest boy. He could have went to work. Back then, 11 years old was already working. And she was a widow. Her husband married her when he was 60 years old. Wow. He was 60. She was his second wife, not the first wife, second wife. He went to his Rebbe. He said to his Rebbe, "I'm 60 years old already. For what I'm going to get remarried?" He said, "Get remarried. You're going to see from you going to come. There's something you have still avoida to do. You still have work to do." He got married to a young girl, almost 20, 30 years younger than him. He died at the age of 71, 11 years later. Stipler was 11 years old. His mother took him by the hands. She said she didn't know where he was going. Back then it wasn't like today, Telegram, WhatsApp, this, that, cell phone. She took him. She said, "You see this rabbi over here? I trust him." Today you cannot trust the person with the smicha. You're gonna trust. She gave him. Says, "You're gonna take him, because I know in Novordok Yeshiva he's not just gonna eat food. He's gonna eat for his neshama. He's gonna eat something that's gonna keep him more satisfied." He took him. In the Novordok Yeshiva, he became such a big Ilui. Back then was the Bolsheviks revolution. He was drafted into the army. In Siberia he was. Back then, if you don't wear a fur coat in Siberia, you're going to die. You're going to get frostbite. But he was scared that the coat, because every soldier that was standing on the mishmar, the guard. Patrol. He said, it was his turn. It was also on Shabbat. He said, "I'm not gonna wear the fur coat because I'm afraid there's shatnez over there.
Wow.
That's crazy. Today, I tell people shatnez, like, what's shatnez? They think I'm saying something Kabbalistic over here. Shatnez. That's a different story. What, you think he has only one story? A person who becomes like the slave doesn't have one story, Habibi. He was standing in the mishmar in the summer get-up, the summer uniform, in Siberia, in a freezing cold, -0, standing in the mishmar. He said, he says, later on when he moved to Israel, he married the Chazon Ish's sister. How did he marry the Chazon Ish's sister? Chazon Ish was the great one. I mean, you go to any rabbi shiur, Chazon Ish! He never had kids, the Chazon Ish. He had a sister, Miriam, her name was. The Stipler, when he was in yeshiva already, he wrote a book. The book got to the Chazon Ish. Chazon Ish says, this guy who wrote this book, he's the Khatan of my sister, because his mom already passed away. He got to the Stipler. He says, you're marrying my sister. That's how they made shidduchim. It wasn't any like this today. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Your resume application is a good one. Maybe that's what's next. You have to submit an application. They didn't even see. He went. They say the story was she went to see him, Miriam, the Rabbanit Miriam. She went to see the Stipler, and he was in the middle of a shiur. He was learning, and she comes to the date, and he's not there. Now I'm not telling you guys the story for you guys to do this. If you have a shiur Torah and a date, you should go on the date. This was the Stipler, okay? First become the Stipler and then do this. So she came to the house and he's not there. Because back then, what was the date? You meet it like Choskori, you see each other in the house. She comes the first time, he's not there. What happened? He forgot about it. He was in the yeshiva, he forgot about it. Not on purpose. He was inside the yeshiva. Second time she comes, again, he's not there. Third, like Chazakah already. It's the status quo. He's not coming to the date. She went to her brother, the Chazon Ish. She said, this is not going to happen. Just let me speak to the guy. She had, Izat? She had respect to her brother. She said, okay, just let me speak to him. He went to speak to the Stipler. Spoke to him. Basically, he had the date for her. She comes to her and says, you're married, this guy. What did she say? If you say he's the right one, then he's the right one. They got married. They say the Stipler took in his life over 50 sandaks. 50 sandaks. You know, there's a famous Zohar, and also says to be sandak gives you long life. That's why all the Bukhari, not long life, richness. It's ketoret. So they once asked the Stipler, you have so much sandaks.
Where's the money?
Where's the money? So he had his son. His son was already born of Chaim Kanevsky, the one who's the Dollar. He says, what, a son like this is not considered winning the lottery? This is not the winning the lottery over here? You understand? The Stipler HaKadosh he was one of the greatest. He was when he was, one last thing, when he was inside the army during the Bolshevik Revolution, when he was in the army, he was caught keeping Shabbat. And he had to go through the gauntlet. You know what the gauntlet is? So there was two, these Russians, they're
Polar bears.
I don't know if you call them, I would call them worse than Nazis even. These guys, Sonei Dat, Sonei Yahadut, Sonei Hashem. So the rule was, if you pass through the gauntlet alive, you're good. If not, they had the guns, and they would smack him with the hard edge of the gun. And he survived. He passed through and he survived. And later on in his life, after many years, when he was already in Bnei Brak, he told his students, he says, I never had a greater feeling of keeping Shabbat like that time in my life. All my life I've been running after that same feeling that I had when I passed through that gauntlet in the Russian army to keep Shabbat, and I still haven't reached it in my life. I haven't tasted that feeling that I had when I was keeping Shabbat. That was the Stipler. That was just what?
He was under the pressure. Now he was not.
Exactly. That's why the Chavim say, you want to succeed in Torah? Pat b'melach tochal, u'bayim b'msorat tishteh, v'al ha'aretz tishan, v'chayei tzareh techyeh. You want to really learn Torah? You have to limit your ta'avot. What is this? Not to drink coffee before shacharit. It's something. But for our generation, if you don't have your coffee in the morning, you come to shul with your Starbucks, with your Dunkin' Donuts, There's 3 different kinds over there. Which one has the best coffee? This, that. What would happen if one day you're not going to drink coffee till after Shacharit? It's going to be like a fast, right? It's like you're fasting. You're going to feel worse than fast. At least when you go into a fast, you know you're fasting. But that's what it is. It's about breaking your ta'anugim. Anywho, I want to tell you guys one thing. From the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Tonight is a slight Orach HaKadosh is your time. When you go home tonight, light a candle. Lezecher, Moreno, Rabbein Teret Oshen, a slight Orach. He had Ruach HaKodesh. If you think of his son, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, Moran Rav Chaim, he has Ruach HaKodesh. His father, they used to come to him like this. Like this. Like this, they used to come to him. Covering his forehead, so he shouldn't. They were afraid. He had such strong Ruach HaKodesh. I want to say one story about him, guys, but next time. This type of HaKadosh, tonight you come home, light a candle, Lezecha Morin of Rabbein, Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael ben Rabbi Chaim Peretz. His son, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, is named after his father, Chaim Peretz. So, light a candle. And I want to tell you guys one thing. Any person, Stipler said this, all the Chachamim say, who's kovea itim la Torah. Every day, when you pass away, what's the first thing they ask you? Did you learn Torah every day? It's the first question they ask you. Not if you said Shema, put on tefillin, the tzitzit. First question is, did you learn Torah every day? Not just when there's a Hilula, or it's a Monday night, or there's a shiur somewhere. Did you learn Torah every single day? I was speaking to a guy, Gabriel. He said to me, he heard one of my old shiurim. The Torah is alive. I have a old shiur like 2 years ago. Torah is alive. He says, you inspired me to get a book, small book like this, always walk around, and whenever I go, to learn something.
That was my video.
I want to tell you, yeah, your video. I want to tell you guys one thing. Why do we put salt? You see the salt over here? Why do we put salt on the table? Why is there salt on the table? Mizbeah. That's a pshat. There's a tosfot that says something interesting. Between Netilat Yadayim and Hamotzi, we're not allowed to talk. So the Satan says to Hashem, Tosfot says this. They're not learning Torah right now. So he put the salt on the table to sweeten the judgment. What should we do in our days? Do we have to wash ourselves with salt? If back then, that was the kitrug of the Satan, that between Netilat Yadayim and Hamotzi, we had to put salt on the table, says the Tosfot, because we're not learning Torah at that time. You can't talk. You can't do Efsek. What are we going to say today? See, everyone in this room and everyone who's learning Torah, trying. How many are we already? We're the cream of the crop. God's eyes are on you. Don't you understand that the world is riding on you? It's riding on you. Not on Kamala Harris, Yimach Shema, and not on Joe Biden, Yimach Shemo, and not on all the... It's a waste of time. Lev melachim v'sarim b'yad Hashem. Whatever they do, it's all in the hands of Hashem. He chose her because Hashem decided it was good. The blast in Beirut was from Hashem. The Iranians getting an atomic bomb, it's from Hashem. Everything's from Hashem. So why are we so involved in... I say this to myself. Why are we so involved in this? What's the nafkamina? We control it by our learning Torah. We have to be kovei etim Torah. Last thing. This is going to be a fire. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, Mashiach is going to come because we had 3 exiles, right? Bavel, Paras, and Paras and Yavan. Edom is the 4th one, right? It's the 4th one. Edom, Rome. Whose zchut? We have Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Shacharit, Mincha, and Aravit. Whose zchut are we going to get out of Rome? Whose zchut? Whose zchut? No, that's not what the Orach... Maybe. That's not what the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says. You have Yosef, you have Tikkun Hatzot, you have Rachel, you have David, you have Shimon Bar Yochai. Yitzhak is the second one. It's Paras, the Parsiim. It's a big zchut for you. Amen. Well, this year you're really giving him a bracha over there. We got like a month left.
Everything is fine.
Engaged is good, yes. That could work. Moshe, he says, the Orach Chaim says the schut of Moshe. Today I was looking all day for this Orach Chaim. All day, I couldn't find it. I'm going to bring you the source. What's the schut of Moshe, Rabbi Levi? Torah tziva lanu Moshe. What does the prophet say? Halavai oti azavu. It's good if they leave me. Hashem said, leave me. Torati al ta'azavu. They shouldn't leave my Torah. Al-ma avda haaretz, the prophet Jeremiah screams, why did the land be destroyed? Why are we gone? Why are we in Galut? Al ozvam et Torati. Because they left my Torah. Rabbi say every day we have to learn Torah. If you're going to take upon yourself this mitzvah, this year coming up, I'm assuming all you guys pray Shacharit, Mincha, and Aravit, Kriyat Shema Lamita. I'm not going to say Tikkun Chatzot, but for some. I'm not going to say that, but at least Shacharit, Mincha, and Aravit, Kriyat Shema Lamita. I'm assuming Tefillin, Tzitzit, Mezuzah. But one thing you have to, Rabbeinu Tam, this is very important, by the way, Orach Chochmah. I want to tell you guys one thing we take upon us of this year, everyone in this room. Every day, Chok V'lo Ya'avor, we have to have a set amount time to learn Torah. That's the first question they ask you after 120. Hakavata. And if you're going to do this, I guarantee you, Yeshuot.
Is there a small book that you could keep in your pocket that's like translated?
There's many of this. Mishnayot, they have Tanakh right now. They have any. Ma'am Lo'ez, they have. Hey, you're living in the 21st century, Habibi. You live in 21st. You have everything you want. Everything. Soon they're going to come out with Gemara like that. You have already in your iPhone. Anything you want, there is. Everything. You know what they came out today with? Today they started the first daf of Masechet Eruvin, one of the 3 hardest Talmudic Masechtot. They have it in pictures today. In pictures. It's sold out. Every store in the tri-state area is sold out. Today I tried to go and buy it. Sold out. Couldn't buy it. Why? Today, the whole Masechet Eruvin, everything, how do you make an Eruv here, what cases it's talking about here, this, that, pictures, in pictures. Today they have a Daf Yomi Shiur with over 30,000 people online. It's the most famous Daf Yomi Shiur in the world. Rabotai, the only thing we have left to do is what? Get up and do it. Kavati Tin Matorah. This is going to bring Mashiach came to the Shem Ibrahim. Hashem bless it with brachot, v'atzlachot, yishuot, parnasar, refuah, v'chol mediyot v'chenes min avai. Amen. We have 10. Rabbi Hanan ben Akashia Omer, Azar Yisrael, Yivach, Yibad, Pam Shenai, Horizon Zilay.